Hello everybody, this is Cheri at djsandra.blogspot.com, and tonight we have another card. I'm going to be using some ink techniques, I'm going to be using some heat embossing, and we are going to make this very simple card, but it's going to be really pretty. So come back and we will get started. Okay, so for tonight's card, we are going to be using the Perspective Butterfly. Now, not the die, but the Perspective Butterfly from Tim Holtz stamp set. I will put the link to in the description box below to which stamp set this is, but I love this butterfly. I love the Perspective Butterfly as well, but this one is so pretty. So we're going to be doing some resist embossing a little bit. Now, I think that you could probably do the same effect if you didn't do a resist, but I just thought it would be a fun way to do this. So I've already got my stamp platform all set up and ready to go, and we are going to use our powder bag over the top of this. And this time I'm going to be using Distress Black Soot ink. The reason I'm choosing the Distress is because I really want that bold black color, and I actually don't have any black embossing powder, so I thought, well, this would be a way to make it work. So we are going to ink this up with the black soot, and then when we go over the top, we will actually use clear embossing powder. So we'll start with that, get a good impression, and I think that turned out great. When I was making this earlier, when I was working on my sample cards, I made quite a few of them, so it was pretty quick to go through and emboss them over and over again. I mean, to ink the stamp over and over again, because I was just doing the same thing. And so that stamp stayed really nice and inky. However, because I'm going to need the stamp platform in a little while, and actually I'm going to reposition the butterfly, so I don't want to get my fingers all inky. So we're going to go ahead and grab that piece of paper that I use in here and clean off the stamp, so that when it's time, I can still go ahead and reposition that stamp. And so we're going to pull out some black embossing powder, or some clear embossing powder, and we are going to emboss this butterfly. I love the way when you're embossing that this looks all kind of hazy and gray, and then I love to just see it shine up and get nice and black and shiny from the embossing powder. Now, I also decided to try this with the frosted crystal embossing powder from Ranger, but I didn't really care for the effect as much, so I went back to doing it all with the Ranger, or I don't even know if it's Ranger, but clear embossing powder. So let's go ahead and heat this up. Okay, so that is all nice and heated. And now, since I have the stamping tool out, and since I have the heat gun is a little bit hot, we're going to go ahead and stamp the one for our taking it a bit beyond and making it a little bit of a different card. So what I'm going to do is, like I mentioned before, we're going to be repositioning this butterfly on this one. So what I really want is a much higher butterfly, and that's about where I'm going to want it, is right about there, so that it's off centered. And actually, I may even go a little bit higher. Let's get rid of that magnet. And I think we're going to go almost to the top. Now, my cardstock panel here is actually a full 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So it will completely cover the base. But I want this one to be a little bit taller, or higher on the cardstock. Now, that got a little bit inky. There must have been just a tad bit. So let's just pull that off and do that again. Okay, still going in with the black Distress ink, the black soot, and we are going to do the exact same process, just in a different spot, making sure it's all inked. the intensity of the black soot is perfect for this technique. So I'm gonna adhere that down really well. Make sure I've got a good image and I'm happy with that. So let's go ahead and stick our embossing powder on it. And then we'll clean the stamp because it is intense black, but it's also a mess. And I want to get that cleaned off my stamp. Distress inks will clean easier than some inks just because they react so well with water. But I still want to get that cleaned up because I don't want to make a mess somewhere, which I'm afraid I will do. So let's go ahead and grab a second wipe. Alright, set that aside and let it dry. And then we are going to go ahead and heat this one up as well. Alright, so we're just going to set this one aside and make sure that it's all okay. That looks good. And then we're going to go back to our original one. So now this is where we're going to make it really pop. So I have chosen 3 distress colors. I've got Wild Honey, I've got Speckled Egg, and I've got Salvage Patina. And we are going to do some inking. So I wanted to start with the Wild Honey, and we're going to start right in the center. We're going to create kind of a glow coming out from the center of our butterfly. Now, you can do it intensely, and that one's somewhat intense, or you can do it less intense. It just depends on the look you're going for. I like the fact that when you're doing this technique, it's never the same twice. You know, it looks a little bit different depending on the amount of ink on your brush, the amount of pressure you put, and that makes it very fun. So what I started was with that Wild Honey in the center, and then I'm going around the outside in a circular motion with the Speckled Egg. And I'm going all the way around the butterfly, not just on the butterfly, but I want to kind of blend out from the butterfly. And we'll kind of go into that Wild Honey just a tad, not a lot. If there's something later that I feel like needs intensified or blended better, I can always come back. But you can kind of see how that's just starting to create some color there. Okay, and then we're going to go into our Salvage Patina. And like I said, you can do this as light as you like. This is the one I had trouble with because the Salvage Patina is a little bit more intense. So on quite a few of these that I was making, I ended up with green Salvage Patina blotches, and I don't really want blotches, so I'm trying to be very careful to come off from my glass mat into, and that's a little bit more green right there, but I'm trying to come off from the glass mat and not just plop right down in the middle of the paper, so that I can still get that kind of that glowy, distressed look a little bit without big green splotches or Salvage Patina splotches. And then I'm just blending inward towards the butterfly. So on the 2 in the middle, I went from the inside of the butterfly out, and for this one I'm going from the outside in, and then just coming to blend it together. And that just creates just a pretty soft background. And honestly, that's all I need to do for the background. Wasn't that simple? Now the next thing I want to do is have a paper towel here, and I'm just going to gently go over the top of that. And the reason I'm doing that is I want to remove any, I didn't remove a lot, as you can see, but I want to remove any of the ink from the black from the embossing that I can. So I think that looks good. Looks like I could use a little smush here, a little bit of white showing. Some white is okay. But I don't want a lot of white. So now the next thing I want to do is I have this stamp set, This is from Spellbinders. This is from the July 2021 Spellbinders set. And I've got Hello There. And I'm going to, for this, I'm just going to put it on an acrylic block. Now I will tell you that when I was doing these in bulk, because again, this is a great one to mass produce, and when I was doing the mass production of them, I found it really nice for this step for it to be in my stamp platform, because what I could do is I would just put one down, stamp it, pull it up, stamp the next one, and it was always perfectly positioned. So there's a tip for when you are, if you're making a lot of them. This stamp stamps remarkably well, even coming straight out of the package it did. So I'm not too worried for just one that it's going to be a problem to get a clean impression. And there we have it. Okay, so, and I just used black archival ink. You could use the black soda archival ink. I just grabbed the jet black archival because it was handy and it was close. So we are almost done with the clean and simple card. I've got a card base sitting over here on the side, and we are just going to press down the card base. And we're done. Now, again, as I showed in a previous video, you can, if you want to line it up, you can use your Score Pal to line it up perfectly in the corner. I didn't have any trouble this time. Sometimes I do, but this time I didn't. So we're just going to try to do it without. And then if you needed to, you can always trim off. But this one looks like I'm not going to need to trim off. So there is our clean and simple version. Isn't that pretty? I just love the simplicity of it. Just a little nice note card to send to somebody. So what are we going to do to kind of add a little bit of extra to our extra cards? Still going to be pretty simple. Again, probably not so clean. It's still going to be pretty simple, but it's going to be different. So again, same technique. We're going to pull our same inks out. We're going to pull the Wild Honey. We're going to work from the center of our butterfly. Work our way out. I can tell my brush is getting more ink on it because it's getting more and more intense. You know, if you wanted to, you could also use, with it being fall, you could use fall butterfly. Wouldn't that be pretty with maybe crackling campfire, maybe some ripe persimmon? That would be pretty as well. There's so many possibilities of how you make this card. Now, unfortunately here you can see I put that brush down a little bit too firmly without actually blending. I think we're going to be okay. I just need to be a little bit more careful and not go in with quite as heavy as a hand of what I did. So we're going to come out from the butterfly just like we did on the other one. I'm going to go out a little bit further on this one up on top, just simply because we don't have a lot of room left on top there. And then I think I need to come down here and come out just a little bit around the butterfly there too. Okay, I'm liking that. So now let's go into our Salvage Patina. Isn't this pretty simple? It's just using very simple techniques, some techniques that you've probably done if you've been in the crafting world. Maybe you've done it quite a bit. Just using simple blending into, or out and in with your ink colors. So let's just keep on blending. There's a lot more white space on the bottom of this one, but that's okay. It won't stay there for long. And like I said, even this one's still pretty clean and simple, or pretty simple. This one really lets that green even stand out a little bit more. And I mean, that Salvage Patina, you really hit the nail on the head with that color. I have just It was a little bit, when I saw it, I was like, I'm not sure I'm going to like that one as well. And I find myself reaching for more than probably about any of the new releases out there. Okay, so there we've got that part. So now let's do our stamping. Now, I could put it up here, and it would still fit, but I could also put, actually I think I am going to put it on the top, simply because the wings are just not quite as far apart. If they were just a smidge further apart, it would fit, but that's okay. Just stamp that down nice and clean. Now I know you're thinking, wow, that's really disproportionate, but we're not done, because I have grabbed over here, it got buried in my making here. Go. I have grabbed some ribbon. This is old that I've had for quite some time. It's from 3 Girl Jam. And what I'm going to do, and I don't even remember what the color is, daffodil. I do miss 3 Girl Jam. I don't know if you ever were around to use it. If you're new to the crafting industry, they've actually been closed for quite some time, but they made such beautiful seam binding ribbon. Now I know lots of people make seam binding ribbon, so people make their own. I haven't tried it lately. I think with the distress sprays it would be even easier, but I have quite a stash left over from my 3 Girl Jam days, so I'm going to use that up. And just like that, adds just that extra little bit. And then to tape it down, now we'll turn it over just like that. Now this card, if you're putting this card in the mail, you're going to have extra postage, and you probably want to write non-machinable on it, because that ribbon bow adds quite a bit of bulk. That's so pretty. Isn't that pretty? And I like the way it's similar to the, it matches, but it's not the exact same color as the wild honey in the center. You know, you also could have used maybe squeezed lemonade. That might have worked as well. Any yellow that you like. I felt like I wanted the less intense color of the wild honey in there. So now that we've done that, let's play with the bow a little bit. And I'm probably going to regret playing with the bow, because I tend to get a little bit off anyway. I'm not an expert bow tire, actually. We're just going to leave that just like that. So there we have our finished card. We have our very simple, easy one, and then we have one with just a little bit of extra. Now let's look and see what if we added some, I know I pull these out all the time and then don't end up using them, but let's see if we think we need some here. What would it add? Oh, there we go. It's too tiny. Does it add to it? I actually think it might this time. We might get away with it. Now I'm just putting one on this side, although there's something caught on that one. I'm just going to put one on this side because the bow already adds the balance. But let's go ahead. I wonder if some of these tiny ones around, what would they look like? I think we're just going to go with the random 3. Let's put those back. Let's grab our Gina K Connect. Let's grab our little picky up tool. And just put a little dot. I forgot to pull my end out. That's okay. Definitely now you are not going to want to mail this without it being in a padded envelope, or at least put and canceled. And it's definitely, oh, there's still a little extra. There's little tiny in this bottle. There are these little teeny tiny ones that sometimes stick to the others, and that's what was causing that. And then on top of that, we've got dog hair in there. Let's pull the dog hair out. There we go. Now when that dries, it will dry completely clear. So that little bit of glue peeking out that I just dropped glue. Wow, this is a mess tonight, isn't it? That little bit of glue will not cause any problems though. I think it's getting too late for me to be crafting. I know. I pulled that thing out and then didn't use it. Okay, there we have our little card. Really like that. Isn't that pretty? Well, thanks so much for stopping by today. And remember, take some time to enjoy the little things. Have a great day. Bye. You know how sometimes you just can't stop? Well, after looking at this, I decided I needed a few more gems. And I really like the effect of just adding a few more. I just think it really makes it pop. I think I'm going to add just one more on camera. Let's see. Because I feel like maybe I just need one right down here. Kind of random, and you know, typically I try to do the work in triangles and work in odd color or odd numbers. And technically, if you really get looking, I guess these kind of are in triangles, because you know you've got a triangle here, you've got a triangle here, you've got a triangle here, you've got one here, you've got one here. So you've got still the triangles. It's just a little bit more random, but I really like the way those jewels just made this one pop. So there we have the finished card. Definitely this one needs to go into a padded envelope. Too much bulk. So that's okay. Sometimes it just needs that special touch, and it really needs that. So again, thanks for stopping by. Talk to you later. Bye.